Is Florida State wide receiver transfer Hykeem Williams the perfect replacement for Travis Hunter? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Bohr. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And thank you for making me your first listen. Like I said, I'm Kevin Borba. I cover all things Colorado for Athlon Sports and for Locked On. And joining me today is Locked On Seminoles and Locked On Transfer Portal host Brian Smith. Brian, we kind of had some crossover with Hykeem in your neck of the woods because there was a possibility he'd end up in Boulder, and now he has officially ended up in Boulder. And so there's plenty of excitement around, I think, what once was, which was a high rating. He was a 5-star recruit, sort of viewed as one of the better players in the country, and that didn't quite show at Florida State. But now, do you think Colorado has the opportunity to tap into his potential and maybe help replace Travis Hunter? Because I think to replace Travis Hunter, you got to moneyball it a little bit. You got to get a few guys here and there to sort of figure things out. Do you think Hykeem Williams can be a solution to that problem?
He's a part of it. He's 6'2", 215 pounds, and he can run like a deer. Those are good traits. And he was an elite recruit for a reason. He's from Fort Lauderdale, went to Stranahan High School and Miami and Florida, and everybody recruited him, and he signed with Florida State. His biggest issue is staying on the field and being healthy. Although he looks like a Greek god, he's just always nicked up. That's the first thing that's got to get cleared. He was hurt again this spring, part of the spring practice for the Noles. If he does, like the speed and the size and all that, like his hands are like an offensive lineman's hand. Like he's got all the traits that you're looking for. Nobody's Travis. You and I were joking about that before the show, and you're right. Moneyballing it is probably the best way to look at it. There's one Trav, okay? That's just never going to change. So if you can get a boundary receiver like this that can run like a deer, or you want to put him at flanker, you can move him around. If he takes it serious and he can stay healthy, this could be a 50-catch guy. Physically, he has every trait under the sun. It was puzzling to me why he didn't hit at Florida State, but then again, last year, Florida State, bad would be a very kind way to put Florida State last year.
Yeah, not much there. So. Yeah, and I think we talked about Travis Hunter, and before people get their underwear in a bunch, if you will, you got to replace 4 NFL wide receivers. 3 of them were drafted. The other was unsigned, Will Shepard. So you're replacing 4 NFL caliber guys. And so you have to look a lot of different places. And so there's going to be guys like Draylon Miller or Marion Miller, both of which you're familiar with, but they've also turned to the transfer portal, right? They brought in Joseph Williams from Tulsa. They brought in Smasir Brown from Campbell, who I talked about yesterday. And now Hykeem Williams is sort of in the mix with a slew of other freshman receivers as well. And he has an opportunity, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to sort of, it's like second chance for him, right? He didn't pan out, and he has the chance to prove that he was worth the ranking. Because at the end of the day, 5-star recruits, I think, get the most chances across all athletes in sports, right? They get NFL opportunities. They will get endless opportunities to play for certain teams. There's a certain tight end who we don't really need to mention him because he has nothing to do with Colorado, but he just signed with like a 7th school because he's a former 5-star, and people are still excited and hopeful that, like, hey, we could be the team that turns him around. So in terms of Hykeem Williams, what do you see his ceiling being? Right? Is he a guy who could be the team's best receiver, or is he a guy who needs Smasir Brown and Joseph Williams to sort of take on that role and he could complement them?
He could be a number 1. I mean, physically, it's off a computer screen. He is absolutely an enigma. Maybe Deion thinks he's the guy that's going to resurrect him. And for the record, most coaches think they're the guy that's going to resurrect somebody. That's exactly what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
But if you're going to try, you might as well have all the ingredients to make the pie. 6'2", 215, and he can fly. He right now, if he showed up, like if we were at the next combine at the NFL and nobody knew who he was and he walked out there to run the 40, you'd say, I don't know who this is, but he looks the part. Like he looks like he's going to the draft now. And he's got 2 years more to play in college. Yeah. So could he end up being your number 1 next year? Wouldn't shock me, but if he's not in your top 4, it wouldn't shock me either. My guess is as good as yours.
Yeah, I'm hesitant, because honestly, Florida State transfers have not been kind to Colorado. To go through some of the names, there was Bishop Thomas, who If you watch the first season of that Amazon Prime documentary, they wanted him to be so good. They wanted him to be a guy, right? He was featured. He was getting little side interviews from the Amazon people. Like they wanted him to work out, and he just wasn't able to put it together off the field. And then that transitioned to stuff on the field. Travis J, another name who I think was an exciting name, didn't work out. Brendan Gant, same thing. And then they also had the linebacker that committed last year, but went back, Lundy, if I'm not mistaken, where he was at Buffalo for about 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden he went back to Tallahassee. So Florida State transfers have not been nice to Colorado, but we are in the business of being optimistic right now. So Brian, if you had to give Colorado fans one thing to be optimistic about and be like, okay, this guy is different from those 4 other Florida State transfers I mentioned, what would you point out aside from his physical traits? Like, what would you just say is like a reason to be optimistic?
Even when he's on the field and not catching the football, everybody knows who he is. Okay. If you do not roll coverage his way or whatever, look, like that is a thoroughbred. Mm-hmm. He's going to catch a couple home run balls just by default.
Yeah.
That matters. Yeah. So you could see safeties lean in another direction, et cetera. And Colorado's got more receivers coming in. They got good players. He's going to get some single coverage too because of the other guys. I would expect some big plays. Now, I'm not saying consistent. Still got to prove that. Yeah. But to think that he's not going to have some big plays this next year would be foolish.
And then one final question on Hykeem. Do you think they addressed the awkward Travis Hunter comment that he made when he was a recruit? If you guys don't remember, they were talking about his pledge around signing day, and he goes, "Ain't no Travis Hunter around here," right? He was kind of poking fun at the fact that Travis Hunter flipped last minute. If you're him, do you address it? Do you wait for the media to address it? Do you just go, I was 18. I wanted to be excited about my commitment. Do you think he should address it or will have to?
Hykeem's a pretty low-key guy. I imagine the media will be the one that does. That would be my guess. But I could be wrong, but I don't think he'll bring it up.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know if I'd want to bring it up because it's kind of awkward, but like, hey, at the end of the day, every 5-star is confident, right? They all are projected to be first-round picks. That's why they have that 5-star rating. That's kind of how it works. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And now Colorado fans should be supporting Hykeem in the biggest way possible. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Colorado's latest transfer portal addition on the offensive line. They're getting beefy up there.